7909 417 209.
We don't yet know the motive behind yesterday's attack, but we do know it was an attack on British Jews. That is clear. And as you've reflected so well there, Josh, the last 2 years since October 7th, it does come into play in some respect because the Jewish people over the last 2 years, anti-Semitism has increased on the statistics 400% just in that 2-year period because of what is going on, so far away from the UK. But it is heightened this sense of fear. What would you say, not just to your community this morning, some 24 hours on after the event, but communities across the UK about how they should be feeling, how they should be coming together, and how they should seek support if they need it? Because it's one thing hearing from the Prime Minister, it's another thing seeing it in action on the streets around you.
I would say to anyone, if you feel threatened, if you see anything, report. The CSP, there's please definitely report.
Hello guys.
But to know that a new day will come, and hopefully this will waken up people. Hopefully this will
Please call my number.
Showcase to people
It ends in 209.
that
Thank you.
we can get together as one. I mean, yesterday, one of my neighbours here on the street, Muslim and another neighbour Christian and myself, we just hugged together. And this cannot happen in our neighbourhood. And that, what must be done is that understanding from each other, that working together as one. And inshallah, please God, Be'ezrat Hashem, we will be able to see and create a place which is better for all.
It's a good note to end our conversation on, Josh. Thank you, Josh Aronson, local resident journalist as well. And thank you so much for your time. And I hope you get to back inside your home soon and start to process what's gone on. It's been incredibly difficult for us, so I appreciate your time. Thank you, Josh. Well, as I was just discussing with Josh there, fears of such an attack already strong amongst Manchester's Jewish community. Nonetheless, for the many who were leaving nearby synagogues in the Greater Manchester area, completely unaware of what had happened because, of course, it was Yom Kippur, no devices, and it came as a complete shock. Katerina Bertozzi has been speaking to some of them.
How are you?
Thanks, guys. Well done, well done. Josh. Josh, thank you so much for the program.
About a minute away, Midget.
I know, not enough that.
8% battery. Oh, really? Oh, that's 100%. Well done, well done. Yeah.
Hello, Guy. How are you? Good to hear your voice. Let's not talk about that. That was after 4 beers, I may say. It thankfully never occurred. Yes.
What, the one 3 minutes ago? What am I looking at?
I would have got one off him, surely. Maybe. If he slipped.
Postponing Saturday's protest. Okay, fine.
Beautiful. Yep, they're rolling. Imogen, are you good? Excellent. Yeah, we're good here, Guy, if you're all good.
I just want to bring you an update from
Yeah,
Metropolitan Police. We were talking to the Home Secretary here on breakfast a short time ago, a pro-Palestinian demonstration that took place in London just hours after the attack here outside a synagogue in Greater Manchester. She was talking about the sensitivity of that, the disappointment that it went ahead, and more protests are planned for this weekend. We've just had this from the Metropolitan Police, which says the horrific terrorist attack that took place in Manchester yesterday will have caused significant fear and concern in communities across the UK, including here in London. Yet at a time when we want to be deploying every available officer to ensure the safety of those communities, we are instead having to plan for a gathering of more than 1,000 people in Trafalgar Square on Saturday in support of a terrorist organisation. By choosing to encourage mass law-breaking on this scale, Defend Our Juries are drawing resources away from the communities of London at a time when they are needed most. We urge them to do the responsible thing and delay or cancel their plans. That statement from the Metropolitan Police talking about Defend Our Juries, which is the organisation mounting the protest planned for Saturday in London's Trafalgar Square. They have said this. Today the Metropolitan Police wrote to us to ask us that we postpone Saturday's mass protest in Trafalgar Square, citing significant pressure on policing. Our response, in short, don't arrest us then. That is from Defend Our Juries, the organisation planning Saturday's protest in London.
Likewise.
In Trafalgar
Thanks, mate.
Square. We'll continue to monitor that development here on the Sky News throughout the course of the morning.
Okay.
Still to come on breakfast. We'll have more on how police are mobilising nationwide to protect Jewish communities.
Hey Rosie, how are you?
My big feet going in the way. Thank you. Don't worry, don't worry. It's all right. We're all reading at the same time.
If we have this guest coming to us, are we going to work off this mic or just keep it in the fixed position and work off it? Yeah. Would you want to like give me a personal or?
We'll sort something out.
Okay.
A little bit, thankfully. A little bit.
Just so
4
you
or 5
know.
hours, which is good.
So I'll be doing a kind of preliminary intro, then into the routine, then I've got down the line with the guest, and then if this other guest arrives,
Are you ready for the
this
So you're rolling? Yeah, all good.
will either be Time Works coming to us first of all, or it will be me handing back, and because we're expecting similar. I might be just talk over pictures at the beginning of that stage, so that bit's a bit fluid.
Can you hear them calling out?
Good evening to you, Rosie. Well, new details emerging on that. So police say the 2 men killed in this terrorist incident were 66-year-old Melvin Cravitz and 53-year-old Adrian Daulby. They were both local residents, members of the small, thriving community, and I'm standing about 25 metres from where that terrorist incident.
Yes, it's slightly.
So do the breaking news first and then the...
But yes, I can hear you. A bit of distortion or crackle on the line.
In terms of the broader political reaction, well, the Israeli Foreign Minister has laid the blame squarely at the feet of British authorities, saying it's failed to curb a wave of toxic anti-Semitism. That's certainly been a sentiment echoed by some people here who say there's been a heightened sense of fear,
can I just say
concerns for their safety. But police say they will step up patrols in the coming weeks with particular focus in and around
I don't have the
Jewish
top two
places of
headlines.
worship. They say they'll do their best to ensure this doesn't happen again. Rosie? Thank you. Thanks, Rose.
Hello.
Hi there, I'm fine. You? I think Emily is chasing, but I don't have the headlines at the moment.
They've only just done it, so I'm sending it to you now.
Okay, it's being sent now, I'm told. No, I'm told they're being sent on WhatsApp now, actually, so that should be fine. I do.
Yeah. G'day, Sal. How are you?
Well, we're expecting him to arrive any moment, but he's not here yet. So I'm afraid you have to take your cue, depending on whether we've got him or not.
Let's just remind you that breaking news I brought you before the break concerning protests that will be taking place in central London this weekend. The Metropolitan Police concerned about resources that will be used to police those demonstrations in light of what's happened here in Manchester. The resources they are being asked to allocate to Jewish communities and synagogues. The Metropolitan Police put this statement out on social media. Let me read it to you. The horrific terrorist attack that took place in Manchester yesterday will have caused significant fear and concern in communities across the UK, including here in London.
Okay.
Yet at a time when we want to be deploying every available officer to ensure the safety of those communities, we are instead having to plan for a gathering of more than 1,000 people in Trafalgar Square on Saturday in support of a terrorist organisation. By choosing to encourage mass law-breaking on this scale, Defend Our Juries are drawing resources away from communities of London at a time when they are needed most. We urge them to do the responsible thing.
Can we just check, is it Levy or Levy, please? Can you check for me?
Defend Our Juries is the organisation behind Saturday's protest in Trafalgar Square. They said that their action is to go ahead as planned. They said today the Metropolitan Police wrote to us to ask that we postpone Saturday's mass protest in Trafalgar Square, citing significant pressure on the police. Our response is short, don't arrest us. To be clear, the protest in Trafalgar Square on Saturday is in support of Palestine Action, which is a prescribed terrorist organisation here in the UK. That protest is against that label.
I'm just going to
no,
thank you. At the moment, I won't. Thanks.
The police have asked the organisers to postpone or cancel that demonstration in order for them to reallocate their resources after the terrorist attack yesterday.
Awesome, thank you.
But as of yet, Defend Our Jury is still pressing on with that protest on Saturday in London. We'll follow developments on that situation here on Sky News throughout the day for you. Now, Sir Keir Starmer has vowed to defeat rising anti-Semitism in the wake of yesterday's synagogue attack and promised to protect Britain's Jewish communities. Police mobilising across the UK in order to further protect communities from any further incidents. Our Home Editor Jason Farrell has this next report.
Hey Tim, yes I can mate. Yeah, no dramas, thanks mate. Minute to set up.
Yeah, he's here, he's just behind the camera.
Yeah. No. In the same. Royal Bell. Great, thank you.
Hi, Claire. Okay. Okay. Thank you. We've got a few minutes, haven't we? So, fingers crossed.
No worries, thank you.
Okay.
Cool, thank you, Tim. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is BBC News and I'm Anita McVeigh live here in Manchester, where police have named the two men killed in the attack here on Thursday as security tightens at synagogues around the UK. The suspect is 35-year-old Jihad Al-Shamie, a British man of Syrian descent. Police have declared a terrorist incident. The chief rabbi condemns the attack as the tragic result of an unrelenting wave of Jew hatred, and the Prime Minister promises to keep Jewish people safe.
I'm standing about 25 metres from where it all happened, and there's still a sense of shock. People coming to terms with what happened. Now, in terms of the broader political reaction, the Israeli Foreign Minister has laid the blame squarely at the feet of British authorities, saying they failed to curb a wave of toxic anti-Semitism across the country. That's certainly been a sentiment echoed.
You join us here at the police cordon in Manchester, very close to the Heaton Park synagogue, which is just down the road behind me, where the attack happened yesterday, Thursday, killing 2 men and injuring 4 others. 3 of those remain in hospital. Now, police have named the 2 men who died in yesterday's attack at the synagogue, the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue, to give it its full title. They are 53-year-old Adrian Daulby and Melvin Cravitz, who was 66, and we have a picture to show you here of Mr. Cravitz. They were killed while observing Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Police say they are supporting their families with specially trained officers. Now, increased security has been put in place at synagogues across the UK, and the Home Secretary has said today that the man who carried out the attack, Jihad Al-Shamie, had not been referred to the UK's anti-terror programme Prevent. He was a Syrian-born man, but who came to the UK as a young child. We have this first report now from Nick Johnson, and a warning that contains images you may find distressing.
Yes.
Apologies, we don't have that report from Nick at the moment. That is being updated. We'll bring that to you as soon as we can. But we can now bring you this from the UK's chief rabbi, Sir Ephraim Mervis, who told the BBC that there had been an unrelenting wave of hatred against Jews.
Hello, Sarah Jane. Thank you so much for coming down to talk to us. Condolences. What awful 24 hours.
How long on the spot, please?
Yeah, I've just been talking to Josh, who lives here, but he's gone to Sky. He gave you a shout out.
It's one of our lectures and it'll be amazing.
What have we got next?
He gave you a little shout out on the TV saying that you were coming on. You've got the guest this evening, so I'll ask you quite up.
Have we got Josh? Okay.
How are you, mate?
We'll talk a little bit about the response. I mean, obviously, you know, it's one of those things where Jewish community is so small. When I was here yesterday, I was like, oh, actually, a lot of my Jewish friends are from Manchester.
And let's bring you that report now from Nick Johnson, and just to remind you again, it contains images that you may find distressing.
Could be lying and saying.
Community is so small. So yeah, we talk about connection and what we've been saying to people here in the community. And I understand you spoke to the Prime Minister yesterday as well. We're going to look at that, what you would see going forward. Is there anything else in particular that you want to get out of this interview in terms of...
So the guest is here, but he's currently with
some of the
Sky.
things that I wanted to call for additional
And we don't have
policing.
Josh Levy yet,
I want
no?
to speak about the protests and how I think that it's inappropriate.
You can see him.
Protests.
How long on the report?
The Metropolitan Police have written to organisers of Saturday's Hostile Action protest to ask them to stop, and they've said don't arrest us.
Yeah, if I could just get a pronunciation check on
What kind of person you have to say. And then, of course, civil society to have a look at itself across all of the different components of
Politicians,
it.
people need to be taking account of themselves.
But also, I'd quite like to reflect
It's Levy.
about the
Thank you.
Thriving community and I'm standing about
here.
Yeah.
See the other messages. We need to build on that to show that
Well, yeah, we were just talking about the fact that the irony of it happening in this community
political reaction,
so many
the Israeli Foreign Minister has laid the blame squarely at British authorities, saying they failed to curb a wave of what he described as a toxic wave of anti-Semitism. Now, people here, that sentiment has been echoed to some extent. They say there's been a heightened sense
15 seconds, I'll do it. So what am I reading into?
concern for their safety.
Am I doing an LVO?
They will step up patrols in the coming
Straight into
weeks,
Phil?
particular focus in and around Jewish places of worship. They say they'll do everything in their power to prevent
You're
this
watching
happening
Breakfast
again.
live from Cotswold in Greater Manchester this morning as we react to those terrible events at the local synagogue here. Police mobilising more officers to patrol this region in the wake of yesterday's terrorist attack. The two victims, the two men from this Jewish community here in Cotswold have been identified. Phil Rosenberg is president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews and joins me here now. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us this morning.
Yes.
I know that you've travelled up to Manchester today and hearing the news. You wanted to come.
Yes, I can see it on the live page. Yeah.
Jewish community here.
Yes, and first I wanted to send my condolences to those all the Adrian Daulby and Melvin Cravitz and their families, and wish a speedy recovery to those still recovering in hospital after yesterday's awful attack.
What was your reaction? Because what we've been talking about in the last 24 hours here on Sky News is members of the Jewish community saying to us, we've been fearing this day for the last 2 years as a community. We are constantly fearing it. But the last 2 years in particular, this has been a fear that sadly yesterday was realised.
This is the deadliest attack on the UK Jewish community since 1190. But over the last 2 years, absolutely, we felt this growing concern as we see this heated conversation, particularly about the Middle East situation, unaddressed too often in so many places. And we feared that this would be the result of it. You hear people shouting things
Have
like
you got this
globalising
picture?
Intifada, and this is
Have you got the picture? Is it ready?
People taking the decision to have violent acts against a peaceful community here in the UK. And that's what we've seen today, with tragic and devastating consequences, particularly here in Manchester, for all of us.
I should just point out, responsible reporting, there's no official word from the police as to the motive behind yesterday's attack, but what is very clear is an attack on British Jews. Let's be very clear about that. And the conversation, some of the language that has been used recently linked to what is going on in the Middle East. This rhetoric, this, as you said, this use of language that seems to have become acceptable in some parts of society.
Now we have just received a still of the attacker Jihad Al-Shamie, a recent still, we're told, of the 35-year-old, which we can show you now, just to recap what we know about him. It's understood he entered the UK as a very young child and was granted British citizenship in 2006 as a minor. He's a British citizen of Syrian descent. You'll know from yesterday that he was shot by police 7 minutes after officers were alerted to the attack here at the Heaton Park synagogue. Now his name, and this is significant, was not in any initial searches of police and security counter-terrorism records. So for example, his name wasn't on the radar of the PREVENT program, the anti-terrorism program, and he's not thought to have been under any current investigation. Now further checks, we understand, are underway to see if his name appears in records of any other investigations, but this is a recent image that we have of the attacker Jihad Al-Shamie, beyond of course those images that we saw yesterday while the attack was underway and when police were called to the scene. Well, I'm joined now on the line by Rabbi Josh Levy. He is the co-leader of the Movement for Progressive Judaism. Thank you very much, Rabbi Levy, for joining us today. And I think it's important to point out, yesterday Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, a day for prayer, reflection, community, not a day for looking at phones and other devices. So it won't have been until much later yesterday, last night in fact, after people had broken their fast and went home perhaps, that many Jews here in the UK became aware of the news of what had happened here at the Heaton Park synagogue. So very much a case of people still processing what has happened, while the rest of the UK may have known this news many hours before. What are your thoughts this morning and the thoughts of people that you've been speaking to in the Jewish community?
When these tragedies happen and then think don't think, well, this is a time to pull back. That's a real problem. No, we know that the Palestine Solidarity Campaign organised its first protest over the last 2 years on the 7th of October, while the massacres on that day were still taking place. That's a real problem, and I think the organisers of these events have to ask themselves the question: what are they really in it for? If they, I mean, you say insensitive, and that might be right, but I think, you know, this shows, I think, a latent anti-Semitism and even a support for terror, because they don't see it as their responsibility to pull back. And I urge those organisers to pull back. But to the government and police, I think we need to look at whether there are powers now or whether we need powers to make sure we can take account of these situations. If people aren't going to do the right thing of their own accord, it's really clear. As you said, the Home Secretary has called for these protests to not go ahead this weekend out of the sky. Then maybe the government and police need more powers, and that's one of the things we want to be looking at over the coming days.
More powers, stronger action. You actually spoke to the Prime Minister yesterday, and we heard his public statement talking about tackling this rising tide of anti-Semitism in the UK. He acknowledged that's happening, the statistics back it up, and he talked about extra security. What is it
you say they shouldn't have to stand there and protect synagogues and other Jewish institutions,
so we need to see visible
yet at the moment clearly that is what is
next
happening. The security presence has been
It's
increased, and the government is looking with Jewish leaders at what more it can do to protect. So for the certainly the foreseeable future, it does look as though that security is going to have to be increased. What sort of conversations do you think the Jewish community ought to be having with the government right now about what kind of protection they want?
How do we disagree civilly? I think what we want to look at is how we tackle the problems across all of civil society, because whether it's in social media, in the media, in workplaces, we've seen the NHS problems, culture and sport, we need to find a way together to push back against anti-Semitism, which has so often gone unchecked. We launched a report to the Commission on Anti-Semitism in July. We're going to ask the government to deliver those recommendations in full.
And Phil, I know it was really important for you when I spoke just before you came on air to reflect the outpouring of solidarity we've had from the global Jewish community, but also, you know, many other faiths and walks of life standing side by side with British Jews after what's happened. And for that, you have a degree of optimism and encouragement.
I do. We had Jewish leaders from over 15 countries reach out to us so far to express their solidarity. But also many, many friends of different faiths and beliefs have reached out to us. I know there are some friends here from one of the local mosques who are here in solidarity right now, and friends from across Muslim, Christian, humanist and other communities have reached out to us. And that's really important, because too often of late we've spoken about this being a divided kingdom, but we are in the end a united kingdom, and we want to build that further in response to this event.
Well, listen, Phil, I really appreciate your time coming to talk to us today. I know you're going to spend the day in and amongst the
Good evening to you, Annie. Well, yes, new details emerging on that. So authorities say 53-year-old Adrian Daulby.
So it's about education, it's about making those interfaith voices heard, but how difficult do you think it is for those voices of calm to make themselves heard above the sort of rhetoric that is very prevalent on social media and elsewhere in society right now?
With what happened now in terms of the broader political reaction to this, the Israeli Prime Minister has laid the blame squarely at the feet of British authorities, saying they failed to curb a toxic wave of anti-Semitism. And that's certainly been a sentiment echoed by some people here who say there's been a heightened sense of fear and concern for their safety. But police here say they will step up patrols in the coming weeks with a particular focus in and around Jewish places of worship. They say they'll do everything in their power to prevent this from happening again. Amy?
We'll be hearing from Chair-elect of the West London Synagogue, Marie Van Zyl, in the wake of yesterday's deadly attack. Can you check the pronunciation of that, please, for the Thomas?
Marie Van Zyl.
Thank you.
She was my predecessor.
Oh, just checking that one. Yeah, thank you. No, I've done it, it's fine.
I did.
Okay, Rabbi Josh Levy, co-leader of the Movement for Progressive Judaism, thank you very much for your time today. We will be back after this short break around the world and across the UK. This is BBC News.